But as my wife was saying, some of the things that you need to know that we and other scholars are doing are in the books, in the tapes, and so you can have that. I won't be able to give you a 2-hour, 3-hour Jeffries lecture, but we do have the tapes. We have the tapes of Dr. J at Harvard. Right around the corner, in this town, one of my most important speeches was made, and the theme was, it's not about anti-Semitism, it's about anti-Kemetism, the inability to deal with Kemet. We've got to deal with it. And in dealing with it, that is our victory. Africans are on a victorious path. There is an intellectual warfare, and we've won it. But the Europeans are not going to let us enjoy the fruits of the victory. Some of us don't even know we won the victory. The great scholarship that has emerged, the explosion of information that has emerged around scholars like Dr. Shekhar Diop, Dr. Theophilo Banga, his partner, Dr. Yosef Ben Dr. Clark, his elder, and the rest of us, the sisters and the brothers. As you can see, my wife is ready to give a 5-hour lecture. And I have to let her have her do because she's a pioneer. She first went to Africa in 1960, in Nigeria, in the village of Ehamufu, in the summer of 1960, before Nigeria was independent. I followed her before I knew her in the same program in 1961. In that program, I went to the Ivory Coast for the work camp. And then we went throughout West Africa, a 2,000-mile journey. 1950, 1960, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary dealing with we will have to separate. But I want to congratulate you. I'm very proud. I want to say to you, Madame P, many, 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 many thanks for coming on this pilgrimage, for this summit on the Nile Valley. Right. And to start a new tradition. So every year we will be coming here to deal with the seriousness of our heritage. Dr. Clark said it best. It's about Pan-Africanism or perish. We have to find a formula to unify. Dr. Diop said it best. There is a cultural unity of Africa in spite of its brilliant diversity. And Dr. Clark and Dr. Jeffries are adding to the work of Dr. Amos Wilson that you've got to have a blueprint for African power, for black power. And you have to instill your plans for greatness and your blueprint in your children. So it's wonderful to have an audience that has all of these youngsters looking at us wondering, what the hell is this that you're talking about? And so that means you've got a sacred mission, a sacred responsibility of working with these children, moving them out of the frivolities and the silliness of modern culture that has them captured with games that just pressing their fingers. They're not using their minds, they're just playing with games. It has them looking at TV programs, looking at soap operas, looking at all kinds of things, not dealing with the mind that Africa gave to the world and showing the world they're behind. No young men can contribute to the development and the rise of African people when they have planned and they have practiced at home to be prepared to show the world they're behind and their draw and not their mind. African people are programmed to win, are born to win, and programmed to lose. An African man should be operating on the context of these scholar warriors. Dr. Joseph Ben and his partner, Dr. Clark, who helped change the world by bringing us this enormous truth that you have a chance to experience this weekend. Others like Professor Scobie, my partner. For 25, 30 years, we developed the largest black studies program in the world. That wasn't good enough for white folks. It was so good they had to deconstruct it. But what they deconstructed at City College didn't make any difference because we were unveiling the great truths of our world that are forever and is not contained in the course. And of course, the younger generation, Professor Smalls, has continued his work. I just left him. He's in Ghana now because we have not only got involved in the knowledge, not only got involved in creating young men like Brother Reggie with the Sons of Africa, because we knew we had to keep our hands on them in order to make them men. You may be born with potential greatness, but unless you are formed and fashioned with greatness, it's not going to be. And that's what it's important. We have to be strength in these young men. And we can't let the systems of our destruction control their behavior. So we have to develop a sacred mission. And let me leave you with this. We have won this great war for the mind of the Africans. The question now is pushing it to the max. Putting it in your homes, where you have libraries of books, of tapes, where you control the messages going to your children. We have to put it in the youth formation. We have to develop young men who have to understand that you go forth with the strength of the mind and not with beautiful drawers on your behind. So we've got to change that formation. As other adults should, for not having done for the young people what should be done. These young people should have had images like the images coming out of Nubia with the great warrior tradition of the Nubian families, Taharka, Shabaka, Shabataka, Pianke. This is the image of the 25th dynasty African warrior pharaohs. And alongside of them were African warrior queens. There are more pyramids dedicated to the queens of Nubia than there are for the kings. This is the history that we've got to recapture. But at the center of our world is the African family. Not just the African man, not just the African woman, and certainly children can't function by themselves. This is the symbol of the rise of the African man who has been devastated, castrated, beat down, stomped on. The rise of the African man, this powerful figure, his backbone, his spine, his mind. This is a 15-story statue. You can take an elevator 15 stories up, past the thighs, past the spinal cord, up into his mind, and look out on the world. This conception is beyond anything I've ever seen. And he's holding on to it, what? His rock, his foundation, his woman. And there she is, as our women have been there since the beginning of time, the founders of culture and civilization. But families are formed not to look good, not to get bleaching cream so you can lighten up, not to get wigs to hang down to your back. Families are formed to raise children, the future. Families are formed to instill the divinity in the children. And there is that young child in the left hand of this brother, pointing to the future, not north to Europe, where we traditionally have looked, not east to Asia or to Mecca, not south to Africa, but that young child is pointing to the Western Hemisphere, where Africans like us are in hundreds of millions in numbers. It is the unity of the hundreds of millions of us in Brazil, in Panama, in Colombia, in Trinidad, in Guyana, in America. It is the millions of us who have had the chance to get opportunities for enlightenment, to have had the chance to open up the ancient traditions and to see the power of the tradition. It is the unity of the Africans in the West with the mother continent, which is the future for Africa, which is the rebirth, which is the Renaissance. And that's where we are going, and that's what you were about, and you're joining us this weekend. Thank you very much.